Please enjoy the following excerpt from the audiobook version of my Guide to Descartes Meditations. In the excerpt you are about to hear, it is said why Descartes is important to modern philosophy. The complete audiobook, professionally narrated by Theo Holland, is available at audible.com.
1.0 Descartes' Importance to Philosophy. Pre-modern philosophy tended to focus on two questions. 1. Does God exist? 2. Do universals exist independently of thought? A universal is a property or characteristic. Modern philosophy is generally held to have begun with the work of René Descartes, 1596 through 1650. Descartes believed in God's existence, and he also believed that he knew exactly how God's existence was to be proved. He therefore considered the case to be closed on question 1. Descartes wasn't interested in question 2 and said little about it. Descartes single-handedly invented the discipline of analytic epistemology. But Descartes' specific epistemological views aren't what make him so important to philosophy. What did so was his conviction that we shouldn't believe anything that cannot be rigorously established. For Descartes, nothing ought to be taken on faith. Everything, including God's existence and the legitimacy of Scripture, had to be established. Even though he himself believed in God, he felt it necessary to justify his belief in God. And he did justify it, or at least tried to, by providing two carefully constructed arguments for God's existence, which we'll consider in a few pages. Thus, the central tenet of Descartes' work is that nothing ought to be accepted unless there is a logical, as opposed to faith-based, reason for doing so. So far as this was even a tenet of pre-Cartesian philosophy, it wasn't the main tenet of it. But it is the main tenet of modern philosophy, which is why Descartes is generally seen as the founder of it. In addition to being a great philosopher, Descartes was a great mathematician. He invented the discipline of analytic geometry. This fact about him is deeply relevant to his philosophical work. Descartes believed that all knowledge ought to be modeled on geometrical knowledge, more specifically, on Euclid's axiomatization of geometry. Euclid attempted with some success to show that every accepted principle of geometry could be derived from a small number of assumptions that he referred to as axioms, or postulates. The distinction between axioms and postulates isn't important, and these days only the term axiom is used. As contemporary logicians and mathematicians use it, the word axiom refers to any statement that, in a given argumentative context, is simply assumed to be true and therefore isn't argued for. But Euclid used this word, or its ancient Greek counterpart rather, to refer to what he believed to be self-evident truths. Truths that could not be grasped without being seen to be true, and that neither required nor admitted of justification. Among Euclid's axioms are, all right angles are equal to each other. Any 2 points are connected by some straight line. And a given line segment can be extended ad infinitum. Descartes tried to show that what Euclid did for geometrical knowledge could be done for all knowledge. That is, he tried to show that human knowledge could be derived from a few self-evident truths. This was one of the objectives of his most famous work, the Meditations on First Philosophy, or simply the Meditations. The other objective of that work is to refute skepticism. Skepticism is the doctrine that we can't establish that any of our sense perceptions represent the world as it really is, that we can't know that our experiences aren't just one big hallucination or dream. I believe that I am now typing on a keyboard, but how do I know this? This question might seem trivial, but it turns out not to be so easy to answer. Descartes tried to answer it. He failed. He also failed to axiomatize human knowledge, but he made some good points along the way. Plus, many a correct and important epistemological view is to be understood in terms of Descartes' views, which is why, even though the latter are often wrong, They deserve careful consideration. Even though the meditations are concerned primarily with the justification of our beliefs, they also concern the existence and nature of God, the roles played by reason and sense perception in the acquisition of knowledge, and the relation of mind to body. Descartes felt it necessary, with some justice, to deal with these topics in order to deal with the epistemological problem with which the work is primarily concerned. Below are summaries and critical evaluations of the meditations.